Hey, I'm Nicholas, and you're watching Posers Must Die. Today, I'm joined by a guest, Tyler King, lead guitarist for local thrash metal heroes, Atomic Terror. Welcome to the show, Tyler.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Oh man, yeah. So I wanted to, when I set up this interview, I didn't realize that you didn't start the band with Thomas. That you came in a bit later. Are you on um, Disciples of Darkness?
No,
First full length. Oh man. Okay, but you're all over this new record that's about to come out. Do we want to talk about that? Let's do it.
sure,
Okay.
yeah.
So, Endless War, Atomic Terror's second full length album. There's an EP as well. This is coming out uh Friday, September 13th. Is that right? All right.
Yep,
And
yep.
you guys have dropped two preview tracks from it, Blood Reina and what's that second one again?
Down to the night
Down to the Night. Okay.
or bound
Oh,
is
Bound to
yeah,
That. That makes more sense.
yeah.
And those are great songs. If those are any indicator of like, the album as a whole, I think, wow, you guys are knocking it out of the park.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I've told Thomas, like the EP and the first record are good, but I can see you guys growing, from strength to strength. It's exciting. Um, but I want to talk about so maybe tell me about how you came to be in the band, Tyler.
So I think it was around I believe it was late 2022, I believe.
Yeah,
Sometime in November, I think. So they had like a lot of lineup changes. I guess like guitarists just kind of came and went, which at first I was like, man, some of these guys are like massive shredders. I'm like,
sure.
I guess I better like get on my A game for this. But so they were like, "Oh, we're looking for a guitarist," and then I guess Zach, who's currently playing bass, actually for Atomic Terror, he actually referred me to them,
Oh, nice.
and yeah, I was like, "All right, I'll go ahead and audition," So I was like, I was feeling kind of bored
Okay,
because the band that I was in before, they were just pretty much on hiatus,
sure. And what
and
band
that
was
other
that?
band was already on Unfit to Rest.
Oh, okay. What kind of stuff was that?
It was like a mix of it was like a mix of like traditional metal and metalcore.
Okay, okay.
You know.
So definitely that's leaning in the thrash territory.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah, I
sure. Yeah,
mean,
it was a
yeah,
lot more melodic, I guess. Think of like I don't know, At the Gates meets Iron Maiden with like with some songs with falsetto vocals. One of them was just a straight up power metal song with like a sort of a metalcore segment.
sure. Oh, like a breakdown or something like that.
Yep.
That's pretty cool though. That sounds like a neat band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps like sometime later in the as time goes by, that might be revived, but for now, I think Atomic Terror is doing pretty well for itself. So
Yeah, you guys are really
I would
cooking. You
join
guys are
in.
gigging a lot. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh yeah,
interrupt you.
no, that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
The
Uh,
thought was already done and whatnot.
okay, thanks, man. So Zach referred you. Do you guys go way back?
Oh yeah, I think man, I think around probably 2017, 2018. I
Cool.
thought maybe may have met him like around late 2016 if I remember correctly. But
Okay.
because I went to CC, like Clackamas Community College,
Oh, right, right.
and then I, kind of wandered into the Niemeyer Hall, which I guess was like the where a lot of the thespians and
Oh,
and the musicians went.
oh, okay. Yeah.
You At that time I was doing a like yeah, I was doing like some kind of I don't know, I was trying to get into trade school, but
Oh,
so I landed in this like 6 month kind of thing, and like I was still like very much a guitar player, but I'm like if I can get a day job fund, what could be a hobby and then turn it into something more,
Well,
then
that's
I think
smart.
I'm better off, like doing that because I didn't think like, oh, going to music school. I didn't have money of my own at that time.
Right, right.
And, depending on like family to fund like that at the time, just, I didn't want to squander that money and not give anything back. So
Right.
that's why I decided the day job,
Yeah.
but I didn't want
Well,
to just work at a grocery store to do
right.
that, because I hated that.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm like,
that sounds like a pretty mature decision. It's like, okay, we can, you're developing a useful skill and
you,
getting to go, and I say a useful, practical skill, and then getting
you
to, so that you can, pursue your passion. That's smart, man. That's good. How old are you, Tyler?
you, I'm 27 now.
Oh, okay. 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 And so who are some of your key inspirations or influences as a guitar player?
Oh man, there are definitely a lot,
Maybe like a
but
tight five. What's that?
to name the ones I guess that are kind of on the top of my head, uh, definitely the Adrian Smith is one of those for sure. Which I mean,
I mean, I see
evidently,
your maiden banner behind you, so yeah,
you and then Jimmy Page, which I have like a Led Zeppelin poster up there too, and
nice,
then Alex Lifeson from Rush for
nice.
sure. Brian May, of Queen, and Brendan Small of Death Clock, which
Okay,
like they kind of have. You could definitely tell that Brendan Small takes influence from Brian May a lot.
yeah. So
Because
these
like
guys
I
are
like Yngwie Malmsteen. Like I can understand what he's playing. I'm still not as that that fast where he's like
few of us are. I mean,
yeah.
he's Ingve. I mean, yeah. Um, but
Yeah.
that's interesting. So these are all monster guitar players, but I noticed like these are all like traditional heavy rock or heavy metal guitar players. Uh,
Yeah.
do you draw? Are there any thrash guys that are like go-to guys for you?
Marty Friedman
Yeah.
is definitely the one that I think of when it comes to guitar playing. Sometimes Kerry King, like if I really want like good dive bombs. But I mean, like what initially when I was a kid, I wasn't really into Kerry King because I was just like, other than the dive bombs, he just does like chromatic notes, and that just
Sure.
didn't really like resonate with me. It's still like nowadays when I'm a kid, it's like that still takes a lot of skill and a lot of like determination to get that good. But he's not the most melodic player, and I guess that's sort of
Yeah.
like what you know didn't really. But I still recognize though it's like he's still a talented dude.
Oh, sure. But I think a lot of Slayer fans are like, yeah, Carrie for riffs, Jeff for leads, for like, lead picks and stuff, or but so can I ask about like how do you and Tommy get together when you're writing songs and like how do you guys kind of like uh I don't know, work out arrangements or parts for riffs and licks and things?
All right, so I guess that process it sometimes involves because like usually one of the best things about him is that he's very prolific. So
Yeah.
like he can throw tons and tons of ideas, and so like like oftentimes like when he has an idea, he shows me, then like it's kind of up to the rest of the band to sort of like kind of interpret it and kind of get it as close to how he envisioned it,
Okay.
as we can. And like he takes care of most of all the lyrics and whatnot. But it's a pretty fun process too, where we're like, okay, so how that, I'll go like, okay, how that riff go again, all right, cool. And then, like I try to, and then I try to turn it to some, some kind of hook. Or sometimes he comes up with, that on his own, of course.
Sure.
But yeah, it could be a pretty fun process.
Well, good.
Or
I
it's
hope
like, oh,
so. Yeah.
yeah, and what's prolific about him, like as again, he's very prolific, like where we haven't even come out with this album yet, and he's already working for material on material for another record.
That's great
He
though.
already started doing that too.
But that's really good. Keep writing, keep writing. You know,
Yep.
do you independently of Thomas come and like, hey, I got this great riff, or here I got an idea for a song and present
Oh
that?
yeah.
Yeah. Does he then does that come like a new song altogether, or maybe worked into a song that he's got some that's gestating already, or
Oh yeah.
yeah?
We were actually working on one before. Like of course though, I guess for the, sake of like surprise, I should be a bit reticent on it though, for
Oh, sure, sure. I'm not trying to have you like give away anything you guys are trying to like keep surprised. Look, we're just asking questions here, okay?
oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's still also kind of like in the works. It's still, I guess, in most ways rather amorphous though, so it could change too. Like with
sure,
any kind of draft, it's subject to change, and I might decide like, oh, we can condense this to a shorter song, or like, oh, we could turn this into a long epic, or
sure. I love that. That's great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So the new album, Endless War, comes out Friday, April 13th. How many songs are on this, and what are some of the like key tracks that we haven't heard yet that you're like really on fire for?
Oh man, one of the ones I think I'm excited for sure, and it was a very fun process. Like recording that one is Forgotten Realms.
Yeah?
Like I guess it's kind of more like, it definitely it's thrashy, but it's kind of more in the like vein of death thrash, I would say.
Cool. Like that Brazilian stuff?
Yeah, like I usually think of like Morbid Saint, like Spectrum of
Yeah.
Death.
Or like, oh, I
Or
see. So like the really extreme end of thrash, like Morbid
oh
Snake,
yeah,
Demo Hammer.
it's a bit more like melodic, I guess, than Morbid Saint, but it has that energy of that where it's like, it's our own interpretation of that kind of death thrash vein. And
That
funny enough,
sounds sick.
Zach actually wrote a lot of the guitar parts, mainly being the bassist, and like we just could not resist picking up what he put down. Is
Yeah.
just, we were like, hell yeah, let's do that.
Well, that's great. I mean, like, I think man, if you've got three writers in a band, that's awesome. You know, uh,
Oh yeah.
that's excellent. And I think it's really cool because, we don't, okay, like Steve Harris, for example, it's like, okay, it's written, he writes, for Maiden and, things are written around the bass, but that's not typically how a lot of bands go. Like a lot of times it's like they might have a cool bass lick as an intro, but then the bass lines tend to be a bit of an afterthought,
Oh yeah. I have a
or as
horrible
far,
habit of,
huh?
of bass lines being that. I have a horrible habit of doing that in songwriting.
Sure. Um, oh, I wondered, could we do you have your gear on hand? Could we go over your rig?
Sure. I mean, I don't have like much of it because a lot of it's still in the rehearsal space.
Oh, sure.
But like I guess now I'm kind of using live, using like a it's actually Zach's cab that I'm borrowing usually, but it's an EVH 5150
Oh,
like
nice.
2x12.
Okay.
And then of course I've used a lot this Laney right here in live shows. Like he sounds amazing, like this 2x4. And yeah, it's like it has a nice trebly sound, but it also has a very strong mid range too. As small as she is, she could be very loud and very ferocious.
Nice. Compact
Yeah,
and kick ass.
yeah. Like Tony Iommi. Oh yeah, that's actually. I mean, that has to be a given. Like he's one of my influences too.
Right. I mean, whoa, you're into Black
Yeah.
Sabbath? No. You know,
I mean, I think most metal bands like, you know, they have to sort of pay tribute to Black. The only like band I can think of that didn't really was Ozzy's band, when the 80s rolled around.
sure.
Because Randy Rhoads like said he didn't like Black Sabbath, which is so weird.
Yeah.
Like, for a metal band. I mean, it's like you're literally like in a band with the former, like vocalist of Black Sabbath.
Right. But you listen to Randy Rhoads' guitar playing, he has more in common with like the Michael Schenkers of the world than he does
Yep.
with Tony Iommi. I mean like you could hear in his playing like the influence of 70s Scorpions and UFO. Uh
Oh yeah.
and that's awesome. Um but yeah, I think he's a different kind of player. Or
Sure.
was. RIP. Um but but yeah, I mean it's the heaviness and the tuning. I think it's de rigueur that okay, yeah, Tony Iommi is going to be an influence on just about anybody in metal. Um, but yeah, I want to see. Speaking of which, now we're on this train. Do you want to talk a little bit about your heavy metal origin story? Like, how did you become a metalhead, Tyler?
Oh yeah. Well, I think it starts kind of with the dark side, being a kid, I guess, who kind of I already knew early on I was eccentric, you know, and I wasn't like many of the other children. So not to say I never had friends, like I still had like a small group of friends, I could fall back on.
Yeah,
But like I always knew I was in the periphery,
sure.
So
I can relate to
uh
that. I can.
yeah. So with the metal scene, that kind of yeah, usually comes as like it's like a beacon, for like those who don't feel that they can fit into mainstream society.
Yeah.
So then I first heard Black Sabbath, I guess like, my dad like introduced me. It was actually a CD that he got from the UK called The Best of Black Sabbath.
Oh, okay.
And so it had a lot of different songs, from like their debut, Paranoid, Master of Reality,
Yeah,
and then I heard the first, then I heard like the full, version of Master of Reality, like songs like some of the best songs, like War Pigs, Paranoid, obviously, that was the very first one I heard. Um, and then I'd have to say, and obviously Black Sabbath, the song.
yeah,
And, I was like, I was aware that there was dark music. I only had a cursory glance of metal, but
sure.
like when I was a little, when you're a little kid, you become a little impressionable and you kind of absorb some of the misconceptions that people say. But as soon as
Sure.
I actually heard the music, I was just all that kind of melted away. And I was like, where has this been all my life? I
I
think the
love that.
first song I think in Black Sabbath that really like, you know, kind of I would say that it like that band rewired my brain, from age 10 where I'm just like, you know, I don't know, just blown away by like it almost felt like being Ezekiel seeing a fucking UFO in the sky, just like
Oh,
just not knowing,
sure.
like I'm not fully understanding. Like I think yeah, Children of the Grave,
Yeah,
like that one, you know, even today, I listen to it side by side with like even some of like the most crushing death metal, and it still
sure.
holds up next to it. I'm like, how did they manage to get this heavy in 1971?
Right. And like that is such a, the main riff from Children of the Grave is such a monster riff. I mean, it's it's
Yo,
as heavy as anything Suffocation wrote, you know,
yo, and it's
20,
so
30 years
simplistic.
later.
Like
Um,
the simplicity is just admirable.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, cool,
Mm-hmm.
man. Um,
Yeah.
you guys are playing a festival in September. What's the date? What's the festival?
think oh yeah. It'll be I believe it the Salem Armory
Yeah, it
at
was Apocalypse at the
21st of
Armory is the
September.
fest. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's you
At the
guys with
21st of September.
of the what of September? I'm sorry.
21st of September.
21st of September. Right. Well, I'm gonna be heading out to Salem for that. And you
All
guys are
thing.
yeah, and you guys are gonna be sharing the bill with Splinter Throne, a Damage Overdose, and who else?
Oh yeah. So I've been a bit like busy lately with other like
I'm
work
so
related
sorry.
stuff, but
I shouldn't have put
I
you on the
haven't
spot like
like
that.
no, it's fine. But if I could remember,
Yeah.
no, there are a lot of different awesome bands on the bill that I've wanted to, see and also meet as well.
Right.
But it is it is definitely a privilege and an honor to like, play alongside, like metal bands that, now I can say I consider them my peers though. That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But
Um, yeah, and some of those bands have been around for quite some time too, so that's cool. They've really been slugging away. I don't know
yeah.
what word I'm looking for, and that isn't the one. But in the local scene, and that's great. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, did you Tyler, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on
hmm.
before we wrap up for today?
Um, hmm.
Any other upcoming gigs?
I know we got one at the 8th of September at the Twilight Cafe.
Oh,
That'll
excellent.
be fun. That's a really
Nice.
cool venue too. It's
It is.
yeah, like I really like I guess I kind of like that they changed the location though, because the venue just seems like a better fit now that they've like moved it.
I like that. I like the new space. I did like the old location more,
Oh,
but the inners, it's great in that spot. I'm like, okay, this is a
oh
cool
yeah.
cool place. Great stage. The whole atmosphere in there is really excellent. It's an upgrade as far as
Yeah.
building, as far as the space is concerned. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I guess there's another venue actually where the Twilight used to be, but like much like the name is fitting, Mono Occulta, because occult means like hidden. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's very hard to find at night because like everything's just like black and like kind of just blends into the background when it's dark.
Oh no. One
So
thing I
it's
liked
like
about the old
it's
Twilight
a
location
cool
was,
place though.
oh, right on. Yeah. I remember the old location, like just in the same strip, in the same parking lot, there was also a practice space for bands. So it's like, oh man, people were like rehearsing and it's like, oh man, we got a gig later. Like that's pretty neat. Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah. But okay, so you're playing the Twilight on September 8th. Who else is on the bill with you guys?
If I remember right, now I could be wrong. I think there's another band called Back from Death,
Oh,
I
I
believe.
just saw them last night.
Yeah, I think I'd have to double check on the bill again. It's been
Yeah,
a while. I think
that's
band's been
okay.
kind of like doing some rehearsal stuff. Like sometimes like, we have like a few busy months, like during the summer, and then we kind of take like a month off to sort of kind of like, better the quality of our show and our performances,
Totally.
in a
And
way.
sometimes you
So
just gotta take a breather, rest, and
yeah.
get back to it. I get that, man. Tyler, I want to thank you so much for joining me
Mhm.
today,
Oh
and
yeah.
and uh, uh, tell people where they can find Atomic Terror online, and then we'll wrap here.
So we got a Spotify. You can also find us on Instagram. Just look up Atomic Terror Official, and we also have a YouTube channel that's, well, at the moment doesn't have anywhere near as much traffic as the Instagram or the Spotify,
Well, you'll get
but
there.
those are all the places, at the top of my head. If anyone still uses Facebook today, we have a Facebook. Okay. Yeah, it was a bit of an exaggeration, but
I get it. it's a lot of mom and dads and aunts and uncles on Facebook these
Yep.
days. Um, well, Tyler, thank you again so much for joining me today. And everybody, get out and see Atomic Terror at the Twilight on September 8th. See them in at the Salem Armory with a bunch of other metal bands on Saturday, September 21st. And don't miss their second full-length album dropping September 13th. That's a Friday. Um,
Yep.
right on. Hail Stan.
Yeah.